for that thing was because no one else was doing it, and at the time everything sounded like the Strokes, and
did you relate?
I really liked the Strokes, but I just found it like harmonically a bit stagnant. You know what I mean? Like everything was harmonically stagnant. Everything did 2 chords and was really cool and really edgy and quite hard and really, when I'm a bit camp, I quite like pretty chords and nice harmonies.
You major sevenths in that.
And little shifts that get your heart going, and I like all that stuff. That's what excites me in music, and because there wasn't anyone else doing it at the time, it was really exciting to be doing it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think if everyone else was doing it, I probably would have gone down the more minimalist route.
Would have gone the other way.
I've got a bit of a weird thing in my head, and I always want to be doing something no one else is doing, and I think that's what made us make such a kind of cheesy sounding record.
Love It When You Call. Now this is a very, very upbeat pop song, and
Yes.
this really was on the radio quite a lot, and it still is actually.
Yeah.
So when did you write this?
I feel like apologising.
No, you shouldn't apologise.
That. This is a weird one because this is when we'd already, we'd recorded a few things already, and I was in the kitchen. Richard was in the hall, like where the piano was, and he was writing these chords that were like, and it was just on the guitar, and it kind of went round on itself. And I liked the way that it's like a longer sequence than most kind of pop songs. It was kind of this weird little sequence. So we started jamming it, and I'd heard these Supertramp records, so everything was lots of that kind of stuff. So we just started jamming it, and then I went away and wrote a song. And I initially thought, I love it when you call, and I thought, okay, I love it when you call, but you never call at all. I thought, I can't get away with that. And I even played it to my housemate. Can I get away with that? Because it is really, really kind of cheesy and quite obvious, I thought, can I get away with it? And actually she said no.
So you thought, well, give it a go anyway. Can't get away with it. Let's see what they make of it.
Yeah, and I did it anyway. It was really good fun.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Can we hear it then?
Oh, I'll go from the song.
Okay.
This might be a bit weird because I've never done it on the piano before, but we'll see how it goes. The switch, you turned it on. I hit the ditch, you carried on. I was so near, now you're so far. Are you quite sure just who you are? Oh, I know you could choose a friend, but you don't seem to have the time. I wonder if you ever get to say what's on your mind. Well, take a little time. Come on, take a little time. I love it when you call. I love it when you call. I love it when you call, but you never call at all. So what's the complication? It's only conversation. I love it when you call, but you never call at all. Whoa. Remember me, I used to be your best time buddy that you couldn't wait to see. But getting old, it takes a toll, and hearts getting broken leads to full growing cold. Oh, I'm flipping with a coin that's got a tail on either side. Oh, and I'm gonna be the one who makes you stop and realize that you could have it all. Yeah, and we should have it all. I love it when you call. I love it when you call. I love it when you call, but you never call at all. Say, what's the complication? It's only conversation. I love it when you call, but you never call at all. Whoa. He loves you when you call. He loves you when you call. Well, I wonder where you've been. Yeah, and I wonder who you've seen. Yeah, and I hope you find your dream. And when you do, I really hope it's all it seems. I love it when you call. I love it when you call. I love it when you call, but
fantastic. There you go.
I didn't know how
You did
to
it.
end it.
So what was it? Is that okay? Quick nerdy question.
Yeah.
About 3/4 of the way through, was that a key change or was that an octave change where it suddenly just goes up? And you're singing the same. You're singing "I Love It When You Call." It's going up a key.
I know, and I wish I'd remembered that when I started singing it. 'Cause
Right.
by the time I came to the key change, I was like, ooh, it's high. Yeah, it goes up from C, and I use the bridge to go, and then that gets me to D. So I kind of go up a tone, but then I also drop it down a tone again for the guitar solo.
Right.
On the record, which is something that I've never heard before on a record. So I felt like I'll come up with an idea. You know, you go up a key and then you kind of go back to the original key and lift it into the solo.
Okay, so that's an unusual thing to do.
A little bit unusual. I never
Yeah.
heard it on a record before, but I
Right.
just thought, well, you know, we're kind of in this key. We can either go up a key and do the solo again, but then we started playing it and I was like, go back down from, because normally you'd go to lift a song, you'd normally go up a key and go, but then I thought, if you go into the solo from there back into the key again, I don't know, just seemed like a kind of fun thing to do.
Yeah.
I like changing keys. a little
Right.
bit.
Right.
Never Be Lonely I wrote in C,
Okay.
and I go to a really weird key there. People in love get fast and foolish. People in love get everything wrong. And then a little later on you get the bridge or the pre-chorus, as they call it in America. At least they're not lonely. At least they're not lonely. They'll never be lonely. And then I change key here. Baby. And it goes totally different key there. I'll never be the same without you. And then back to the original key again.
It's also very, very, very interesting construction there because it almost sounds like two songs.
It was two songs.
When you got
really.
glued
Well,
together.
it's kind of like I was playing this bit. I was on the guitar, C, easy chords,
Right,
you know.
okay, yeah.
And I got stuck, and I'd never be lonely. I had this bit, and I kind of needed another bit. So that's when I went to A flat, totally unrelated key, and then it was all exciting again. It kind of
But
went.
the rhythm's different as well. It's not just the key. Everything's different.
Yeah, and then to get back to the original key, it does all these things. And then, you get back to the original key, so it's a really weird kind of weird thing that I do to get back to the C again.
Could you sit at home and try and come up with a riff, as in, the idea of just a kind of musical motif of a few notes? Because I always think that's quite interesting because there are only 12 notes in the world,
Yeah.
and yet, or at least in the Western scale, and yet still there seems to be new melodies
Yeah.
which are created. So that must be quite an interesting thing for a songwriter to do, just to come up with a riff, a motif of a handful of notes.
I think how it works is that there's not a lot of variation within 12 notes. I mean, it's quite a lot. If you say 12 notes and maybe a kind of normal melody is kind of like a sequence of maybe kind of 10 of them in a row or 15 of them or something. So you can mathematically work that out. There's not that much variation. You'd think that it'll be used up by now. But as soon as you start introducing all the rhythmical variations that there are, suddenly the rhythm is where it's at because the rhythmical variations are huge within a kind of pattern. Even if a short little pattern of a few bars, the amount of rhythmical variations there are almost endless. And I think the rhythm is the thing that makes the song catchy as much as the notes. I mean, they have to have the notes. But if I clapped the rhythm to a pop song, you'd probably be able to get it. But if I played the notes but in a different rhythmical order, you probably wouldn't get it. Do you know what I mean? Play the notes in the same order but with a different rhythm, it's not as catchy. Film A Little World is kind of catchy because it goes off the beat. So long. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of the rhythm that makes it interesting rather than the notes, I think.
How about Miss You? This was on the first album, but this is a sort of hidden track on the first album.
There was a whole big epic number. I was going through this whole phase of liking ridiculous epic music. Actually, it was more inspired by Stevie Wonder than it was by the likes of Pink Floyd, because Stevie Wonder would have these songs at the end of his records, like at the end of, I think it's Inner Visions, or perhaps Talking Book. He's got a song, I believe when I fall in love with you, it'll be forever. It's kind of epic thing, and